Section 41 of English Synonyms and Antonyms. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Make to meter. Make. Synonyms: become, bring about, bring into being, bring to pass, cause, compel, compose, constitute, constrain, construct, create, do, effect, establish, execute, fabricate, fashion, force, frame, get, make out, make up, manufacture, occasion, perform, reach, render, require, shape. Make is essentially causative. To the idea of cause, all its various senses may be traced. Compare synonyms for cause. To make is to cause to exist, or to cause to exist in a certain form or in certain relations. The word thus includes the idea of create, as in Genesis 1:31, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good." Make includes the idea of compose, constitute, as the parts make up the whole. Similarly, to cause a voluntary agent to do a certain act is to make him do it, or compel him to do it. Compel, fixing the attention more on the process, make on the accomplished fact. Compare compel, do, influence, make better, amend, make haste, quicken, make known, announce, avow, confess, make prisoner, arrest, make up, add, make void, cancel. Antonyms: see synonyms for abolish, break, demolish. Prepositions: make of, out of or from certain materials, into a certain form, for a certain purpose or person. Made with hands, by hand, made by a prisoner, with a jackknife. Marriage. Synonyms: conjugal union, espousal, espousals, matrimony, nuptials, spousal, spousals, union, wedding, wedlock. Matrimony denotes the state of those who are united in the relation of husband and wife. Marriage denotes primarily the act of so uniting, but is extensively used for the state as well. Wedlock, a word of specific legal use, is the Saxon term for the state or relation denoted by matrimony. Wedding denotes the ceremony, with any attendant festivities, by which two persons are united as husband and wife. Nuptials being the more formal and stately term to express the same idea. Antonyms: bachelorhood, celibacy, divorce, maidenhood, virginity, widowhood. Prepositions: marriage of or between two persons, of one person to or with another, among the Greeks. Masculine. Synonyms: male, manful, manlike, manly, mannish, virile. We apply male to the sex, masculine to the qualities, especially to the stronger, hardier, and more imperious qualities that distinguish the male sex. As applied to women, masculine has often the depreciatory sense of unwomanly, rude, or harsh, as a masculine face or voice, or the like. Though one may say in a commendatory way, she acted with masculine courage or decision. Manlike may mean only having the outward appearance or semblance of a man, or may be closely equivalent to manly. Manly refers to all the qualities and traits worthy of a man. Manful, especially to the valor and prowess that become a man. We speak of a manful struggle, manly decision. We say manly gentleness or tenderness. We could not say manful tenderness. Mannish is a depreciatory word referring to the mimicry or parade of some superficial qualities of manhood, as a mannish boy or woman. Masculine may apply to the distinctive qualities of the male sex at any age. Virile applies to the distinctive qualities of mature manhood only, as opposed not only to feminine or womanly, but to childish, and is thus an emphatic word for sturdy, intrepid, etc. Antonyms. See synonyms for feminine. Massacre. Synonyms: butchery, carnage, havoc, slaughter. A massacre is the indiscriminate killing in numbers of the unresisting or defenseless. Butchery is the killing of men rudely and ruthlessly as cattle are killed in the shambles. Havoc may not be so complete as massacre, nor so coldly brutal as butchery, but is more widely spread and furious. It is destruction let loose, and may be applied to organizations, interests, etc., as well as to human life. Quote, "As for Saul, he made havoc of the church." Close quote. Acts 4:3. Carnage, Latin caro, carnis, flesh, refers to widely scattered or heaped up corpses of the slain. Slaughter is similar in meaning, but refers more to the process, as carnage does to the result. These two words only of the group may be used of great destruction of life in open and honorable battle, as when we say the enemy was repulsed with great slaughter, or the carnage was terrible. Meddlesome. Synonyms: impertinent, intrusive, meddling, obtrusive, officious. The meddlesome person interferes unasked in the affairs of others. The intrusive person thrusts himself uninvited into their company or conversation. The obtrusive person thrusts himself or his opinions conceitedly and undesirably upon their notice. The officious person thrusts his services, unasked and undesired, upon others. Obtrusive is oftener applied to words, qualities, actions, etc., than to persons. Intrusive is used chiefly of persons, as is officious, though we speak of officious attentions, intrusive remarks. Meddlesome is used indifferently of persons or of words, qualities, actions, etc. Compare inquisitive, interpose. Antonyms: modest, reserved, retiring, shy, unassuming, unobtrusive. Melody. Synonyms: harmony, music, symphony, unison. Harmony is simultaneous, melody is successive. Harmony is the pleasing correspondence of two or more notes sounded at once. Melody, the pleasing succession of a number of notes, continuously following one another. A melody may be wholly in one part. Harmony must be of two or more parts. Accordant notes of different pitch, sounded simultaneously, produce harmony. Unison is the simultaneous sounding of two or more notes of the same pitch. When the pitch is the same, there may be unison between sounds of very different volume and quality, as a voice and a bell may sound in unison. Tones sounded at the interval of an octave are also said to be in unison, although this is not literally exact. This usage arises from the fact that bass and tenor voices, in attempting to sound the same note as the soprano and alto, will, in fact, sound a note an octave below. Music may denote the simplest melody or the most complex and perfect harmony. A symphony, apart from its technical orchestral sense, is any pleasing consonance of musical sounds, vocal or instrumental, as of many accordant voices or instruments. Memory. Synonyms: recollection, remembrance, reminiscence, retrospect, retrospection. Memory is the faculty by which knowledge is retained or recalled. In a more general sense, memory is a retention of knowledge within the grasp of the mind, while remembrance is the having what is known consciously before the mind. Remembrance may be voluntary or involuntary. A thing is brought to remembrance, or we call it to remembrance. The same is true of memory. Recollection involves volition, the mind making a distinct effort to recall something, or fixing the attention actively upon it when recalled. Reminiscence is a half-dreamy memory of scenes or events long past. Retrospection is a distinct turning of the mind back upon the past, bringing long periods under survey. Retrospection is to reminiscence much what recollection is to remembrance. Antonyms: forgetfulness, oblivion, obliviousness, oversight, unconsciousness. Mercy. Synonyms: benevolence, benignity, blessing, clemency, compassion, favor, forbearance, forgiveness, gentleness, grace, kindness, lenience, leniency, lenity, mildness, pardon, pity, tenderness. Mercy is the exercise of less severity than one deserves, or, in a more extended sense, the granting of kindness or favor beyond what one may rightly claim. Grace is favor, kindness, or blessing shown to the undeserving. Forgiveness, mercy, and pardon are exercised toward the ill-deserving. Pardon remits the outward penalty which the offender deserves. Forgiveness dismisses resentment or displeasure from the heart of the one offended. Mercy seeks the highest possible good of the offender. There may be mercy without pardon, as in the mitigation of sentence, or in all possible alleviation of necessary severity. There may be cases where pardon would not be mercy, since it would encourage to repetition of the offense from which timely punishment might have saved. Mercy is also used in the wider sense of refraining from harshness or cruelty toward those who are in one's power without fault of their own; as, they besought the robber to have mercy. Clemency is a colder word than mercy, and without its religious associations, signifying mildness and moderation in the use of power, where severity would have legal or military rather than moral sanction. It often denotes a habitual mildness of disposition on the part of the powerful, and is matter rather of good nature or policy than of principle. Leniency or lenity denotes an easy-going avoidance of severity. These words are more general and less magisterial than clemency. We should speak of the leniency of a parent, the clemency of a conqueror. Compare pity. Antonyms: cruelty, hardness, harshness, implacability, justice, penalty, punishment, revenge, rigor, severity, sternness, vengeance. Prepositions: the mercy of God to or toward sinners. Have mercy on or upon one. Meter. Synonyms: euphony, measure, rhythm, verse. Euphony is agreeable linguistic sound, however produced. Meter, measure, and rhythm denote agreeable succession of sounds in the utterance of connected words. Euphony may apply to a single word or even a single syllable. The other words apply to lines, sentences, paragraphs, etc. Rhythm and meter may be produced by accent only, as in English, or by accent and quantity combined, as in Greek or Italian. Rhythm or measure may apply either to prose or to poetry, or to music, dancing, etc. Meter is more precise than rhythm, applies only to poetry, and denotes a measured rhythm with regular divisions into verses, stanzas, strophes, etc. A verse is strictly a metrical line, but the word is often used as synonymous with stanza. Verse, in the general sense, denotes metrical writing without reference to the thought involved, as prose and verse. Compare melody, poetry. End of section 41. Read by DSayers in Modesto, California for LibriVox.
42 of English Synonyms and Antonyms. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mario Pineda. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Mind to mysterious. Mind. Synonyms: brain, consciousness, disposition, instinct, intellect, intelligence, reason, sense, soul, spirit, thought, understanding. Mind, in general sense, includes all the powers of sentient being apart from the physical factors in bodily faculties and activities. In a limited sense, mind is nearly synonymous with intellect, but includes disposition or the tendency toward action as appears in the phrase to have a mind to work. As the seat of mental activity, brain, colloquially brains, is often used as a synonym for mind, intellect, intelligence. Thought, the act, process, or power of thinking, is often used to denote the thinking faculty and especially the reason. The instinct of animals is now held by many philosophers to be of the same nature as the intellect of man, but inferior and limited, yet the apparent difference is very great. An instinct is a propensity prior to experience and independent of instruction. Pali Natural Philosophy, Chapter 18. In this sense, we speak of human instincts, those denoting tendencies independent of reasoning or instruction. The soul includes the intellect, sensibilities, and will. Beyond what is expressed by the word mind, the soul denotes especially the moral, the immortal nature. We say of a dead body, the soul, not the mind, has fled. A spirit is used especially in contradistinction from matter. It may, in many cases, be substituted for soul, but soul has commonly a fuller and more determinate meaning. We can conceive of spirits as having no moral nature. The fairies, elves, and brownies of mythology might be termed spirits, but not souls. In the figurative sense, a spirit denotes animation, excitability, perhaps impatience, as a lad of spirit, he sang with spirit, he replied with spirit. Soul denotes energy and depth of feeling, as when we speak of soulful eyes, or it may denote the very life of anything, as the hidden soul of harmony, Milton, L'Allegro 144. Sense may be an antonym of intellect, as when we speak of the sense of hearing, but sense is used also as denoting clear mental action, good judgment, acumen, as he is a man of sense, or he showed good sense. Sense, even in its material signification, must be reckoned among the activities of mind too dependent on bodily functions. The mind, not the eye, really sees. The mind, not the ear, really hears. Consciousness includes all that a sentient being perceives, knows, thinks, or feels, from whatever source arising, and of whatever character, kind, or degree, whether with or without distinct thinking, feeling, or willing. We speak of the consciousness of the brute, of the savage, or of the sage. The intellect is that assemblage of faculties which is concerned with knowledge, as distinguished from emotion and volition. Understanding is the Saxon word of the same general import, but it is chiefly used of the reasoning powers. The understanding, which Sir William Hamilton has called the faculty of relations and comparisons, is distinguished by many philosophers from reason in that reason is the faculty of the higher cognitions of a priori truth. Antonyms: body, brawn, brute force, material substance, matter. Minute. Synonyms: circumstantial, diminutive, little, slender, comminutive, exact, particular, small, critical, fine, precise, tiny, detailed. That is minute, which is of exceedingly limited dimensions, as a grain of dust, or which attends to matters of exceedingly slight amount or apparent importance, as a minute account, minute observation. That which is broken up into minute particles is said to be comminuted. Things might be termed fine, which would not be termed comminuted, as fine sand, fine gravel, but in using the adverb, we say a substance is finely comminuted, comminuted referring more to the process, fine to the result. An account extended to very minute particulars is circumstantial, detailed, particular. An examination so extended is critical, exact, precise. Compare fine. Antonyms. See synonyms for large. Misfortune. Synonyms: adversity, affliction, bereavement, blow, calamity, chastening, chastisement, disappointment, disaster, distress, failure, hardship, harm, ill, ill fortune, ill luck, misadventure, mischance, misery, mishap, reverse, ruin, sorrow, stroke, trial, tribulation, trouble, visitation. Misfortune is adverse fortune or an instance thereof, any untoward event, usually of lingering character or consequences, and such as the sufferer is not deemed directly responsible for, as he had the misfortune to be born blind. Any considerable disappointment, failure, or misfortune as regards outward circumstances, as loss of fortune, position, and the like, when long continued or attended with enduring consequences, constitutes adversity. For the loss of friends by death, we commonly use affliction or bereavement. Calamity and disaster are used of sudden and severe misfortunes, often overwhelming. Ill fortune and ill luck of lighter troubles and failures. We speak of the misery of the poor, the hardships of the soldier. Affliction, chastening, trial, and tribulation have all an especially religious bearing, suggesting some disciplinary purpose of God with beneficent design. Affliction may be keen and bitter, but brief. Tribulation is long and wearing. We speak of an affliction, but rarely of a tribulation, since tribulation is viewed as a continuous process which may endure for years or for a lifetime, but we speak of our daily trials. Compare catastrophe. Antonyms: blessing, boon, comfort, consolation, good fortune, good luck, gratification, happiness, joy, pleasure, prosperity, relief, success, triumph. Mob. Synonyms: canaille, crowd, dregs of the people, lower classes, masses, populace, rabble, the vulgar. The populace are poor and ignorant, but may be law-abiding. A mob is disorderly and lawless, but may be rich and influential. The rabble is despicable, worthless, purposeless. A mob may have effective desperate purpose. A crowd may be drawn by mere curiosity. Some strong, pervading excitement is needed to make it a mob. Compare people. Model. Synonyms: archetype, copy, design, example, facsimile, image, imitation, mold, original, pattern, prototype, representation, standard, type. A pattern is always in modern use that which is to be copied. A model may be either the thing to be copied or the copy that has been made from it, as the models in the patent office. A pattern is commonly superficial. A model is usually in relief. A pattern must be closely followed in its minutest particulars by a faithful copyist. A model may allow a great degree of freedom. A sculptor may idealize his living model. His workman must exactly copy in marble or metal the model he has made in clay. Compare example, idea, ideal. Modesty. Synonyms: backwardness, bashfulness, coldness, constraint, kindness, diffidence, reserve, shyness, timidity, unobtrusiveness. Bashfulness is a shrinking from notice without a signal reason. Coyness is a half encouragement, half avoidance of offered attention, and may be real or affected. Diffidence is self-distrust. Modesty, a humble estimate of oneself in comparison with others or with the demand of some undertaking. Modesty has also the specific meaning of a sensitive shrinking from anything indelicate. Shyness is a tendency to shrink from observation. Timidity, a distant fear of criticism, error, or failure. Reserve is the holding oneself aloof from others, or holding back one's feelings from expression, or one's affairs from communication to others. Reserve might be the retreat of shyness, or, on the other hand, the contemptuous withdrawal of pride and haughtiness. Compare abash, pride, taciturn. Antonyms: abandon, arrogance, assumption, assurance, boldness, conceit, confidence, egotism, forwardness, frankness, freedom, haughtiness, impudence, indiscretion, loquaciousness, loquacity, pertness, sauciness, self-conceit, self-sufficiency, sociability. Money. Synonyms: bills, bullion, capital, cash, coin, currency, funds, gold, notes, property, silver, specie. Money is the authorized medium of exchange. Coined money is called coin or specie. What are termed in England bank notes are in the United States commonly called bills, as a $5 bill. The notes of responsible men are readily transferable in commercial circles, but they are not money, as the stock was sold for $500 in money and the balance in merchantable paper. Cash is a specie or money in hand, or paid in hand, as the cash account, the cash price. In the legal sense, property is not money, and money is not property. For property is that which has inherent value, while money, as such, has but representative value, and may or may not have intrinsic value. Bullion is either gold or silver uncoined, or the coined metal considered without reference to its coinage, but simply as merchandise, when its value as bullion may be very different from its value as money. The word capital is used chiefly of accumulated property or money invested in productive enterprises or available for such investment. Morose. Synonyms: acrimonious, churlish, crabbed, crusty, dogged, gloomy, gruff, ill-humored, ill-natured, severe, snappish, sour, splenetic, sulky, sullen, surly. The sullen and sulky are discontented and resentful in regard to that against which they are too proud to protest or consider all protest vain. Sullen denotes more of pride, sulky more of resentful obstinacy. The morose are bitterly dissatisfied with the world in general, and disposed to vent their ill nature upon others. The sullen and sulky are for the most part silent. The morose growled out bitter speeches. A surly person is in a state of latent anger, resenting approach as intrusion and ready to take offense at anything. Thus we speak of a surly dog. Sullen and sulky moods may be transitory. One who is morose or surly is commonly so by disposition or habit. Antonyms: amiable, benignant, bland, complacent, friendly, genial, gentle, good-natured, indulgent, kind, loving, mild, pleasant, sympathetic, tender. Motion. Synonyms: act, action, change, move, movement, passage, process, transit, transition. Motion is change of place or position in space. Transition is a passing from one point or position in space to another. Motion might be either abstract or concrete, more frequently the former. Movement is always concrete, that is, considered in connection with the thing that moves or is moved. Thus we speak of the movements of the planets, but of the laws of planetary motion, of military movements, but of perpetual motion. Move is used chiefly of contests and competition, as in chess or politics, as it is your move, assure the move of the opposition. Action is a more comprehensive word than motion. We now rarely speak of mental or spiritual motions, but rather of mental or spiritual acts or processes, or of the laws of mental action, but a formal proposal of action in a deliberative assembly is termed emotion. Compare ACT. Antonyms: immobility, quiescence, quiet, repose, rest, stillness. Mourn. Synonyms: bemoan, bewail, deplore, grieve, lament, regret, rue, sorrow. To mourn is to feel or express sadness or distress because of some loss, affliction, or misfortune. Mourning is thought of as prolonged. Grief or regret may be transient. One may grieve or mourn, regret, rue, or sorrow without a sound. He bemoans with suppressed and often inarticulate sounds of grief. He bewails with passionate utterance, whether of inarticulate cries or of spoken words. He laments in plaintive or pathetic words, as the prophet Jeremiah in his Lamentations. One deplores with subtle sorrow which may or may not find relief in words. One is made to rue an act by some misfortune resulting or by some penalty or vengeance inflicted because of it. One regrets a slight misfortune or a hasty word. He sorrows over the death of a friend. Antonyms: be joyful, exult, joy, make merry, rejoice, triumph. Mutual. Synonym: common, correlative, interchangeable, joint, reciprocal. That is common to which two or more persons have the same or equal claims, or in which they have equal interest or participation. In the strictest sense, that is mutual, Latin mutare, to change, which is freely interchanged, that is reciprocal in respect to which one act or movement is met by a corresponding act or movement in return. We speak of our common country, mutual affection, reciprocal obligations, the reciprocal action of cause and effect, where the effect becomes in turn a cause. Many good writers hold it incorrect to say a mutual friend, and insist that a common friend would be more accurate. but common friend is practically never used because of the disagreeable suggestion that attaches to common, of ordinary or inferior. Mutual friend has high literary authority, of Burke, Scott, Dickens, and others, and a considerable usage of good society in its favor, the expression being quite naturally derived from the thoroughly correct phrase mutual friendship. Antonyms: detached, disconnected, dissociated, distinct, disunited, separate, separated, severed, sundered, unconnected, unreciprocated, unrequited, unshared. Mysterious. Synonyms: abstruse, cabalistic, dark, enigmatical, hidden, incomprehensible, inexplicable, inscrutable, mystic, mystical, obscure, occult, recondite, secret, transcendental, unfathomable, unfathomed, unknown. That is mysterious in the true sense which is beyond human comprehension, as the decrees of God or the origin of life. That is mystic or mystical which has associated with it some hidden or recondite meaning, especially of a religious kind, as the mystic Babylon of the Apocalypse. That is dark which we can not personally see through, especially if sadly perplexing, as a dark providence. That is secret which is intentionally hidden. Compare dark. Antonyms. See synonyms for clear. End of section 42.
Of English Synonyms and Antonyms. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Name to necessity. Name. Synonym: agnomen, appellation, cognomen, denomination, designation, epithet, praenomen, style, surname, title. Name, in the most general sense, signifying the word by which a person or thing is called or known, includes all other words of this group. In this sense, every noun is a name. In the more limited sense, a name is personal, an appellation is descriptive, a title is official. In the phrase William the Conqueror, King of England, William is the man's name, which belongs to him personally, independently of any rank or achievement. Conqueror is the appellation which he won by his acquisition of England. King is the title denoting his royal rank. An epithet, Greek epitheton, something added to, from epi, on, and tethemi, put, is something placed upon a person or thing. The epithet does not strictly belong to an object like a name, but is given to mark some assumed characteristic, good or bad. An epithet is always an adjective, or a word or phrase used as an adjective, and is properly used to emphasize a characteristic, but not to add information, as in the phrase the sounding sea. The idea that an epithet is always opprobrious, and that any word used opprobriously is an epithet, is a popular error. Designation may be used much in the sense of appellation, but is more distinctive or specific in meaning. A designation, properly so called, rests upon some inherent quality, while an appellation may be fanciful. Among the Romans, the praenomen was the individual part of a man's name, the nomen indicating the gens to which he belonged, the cognomen showed his family and was borne by all patricians, and the agnomen was added to refer to his achievements or character. When scientists name an animal or a plant, they give it a binary or binomial technical name, comprising a generic and a specific appellation. In modern use, a personal name, as John or Mary, is given in infancy and is often called the given name or Christian name, or simply the first name, rarely the praenomen. The cognomen or surname is the family name which belongs to one by right of birth or marriage. Style is the legal designation by which a person or house is known in official or business relations, as the name and style of Baring Brothers. The term denomination is applied to a separate religious organization without the opprobrious meaning attached to the word sect. Also, to designate any class of like objects collectively, especially money or notes of a certain value, as the sum was in notes of the denomination of $1,000. Compare term. Native. Synonyms: indigenous, innate, natal, natural, original. Native denotes that which belongs to one by birth. Natal, that which pertains to the event of birth. Natural denotes that which rests upon inherent qualities of character or being. We speak of one's native country, or of his natal day, of natural ability, native genius. Compare inherent, primeval, radical. Antonyms: acquired, alien, artificial, assumed, foreign, unnatural. Nautical. Synonyms: marine, maritime, naval, ocean, oceanic. Marine, Latin mare, sea, signifies belonging to the ocean. Maritime, a secondary derivative from the same root, bordering on or connected with the ocean, as marine products, marine animals, maritime nations, maritime laws. Nautical, Greek nautes, a sailor, denotes primarily anything connected with sailors, and hence with ships or navigation. Naval, Latin navis, Greek nous, a ship, refers to the armed force of a nation on the sea, and by extension to similar forces on lakes and rivers, as a naval force, a nautical almanac. Ocean, used adjectively, is applied to that which belongs to or is part of the ocean. Oceanic may be used in the same sense, but is especially applied to that which borders on, or upon, or is connected with, or which is similar to, or suggestive of an ocean. We speak of ocean currents, oceanic islands, or perhaps of an oceanic intellect. Neat. Synonyms: clean, cleanly, dapper, natty, nice, orderly, prim, spruce, tidy, trim. That which is clean is simply free from soil or defilement of any kind. Things are orderly when in due relation to other things. A room or desk is orderly when every article is in place. A person is orderly who habitually keeps things so. Tidy denotes that which conforms to propriety in general. An unlaced shoe may be perfectly clean, but is not tidy. Neat refers to that which is clean and tidy, with nothing superfluous, conspicuous, or showy, as when we speak of plain but neat attire. The same idea of freedom from the superfluous appears in the phrases a neat speech, a neat turn, a neat reply, etc. A clean cut has no ragged edges. A neat stroke just does what is intended. Nice is stronger than neat, implying value and beauty. A cheap, coarse dress may be perfectly neat, but would not be termed nice. Spruce is applied to the show and affectation of neatness with a touch of smartness, and is always a term of mild contempt, as a spruce serving man. Trim denotes a certain shapely and elegant firmness, often with suppleness and grace, as a trim suit, a trim figure. Prim applies to a precise, formal, affected nicety. Dapper is spruce with the suggestion of smallness and slightness. Natty, a diminutive of neat, suggests minute elegance, with a tendency toward the exquisite, as a dapper little fellow in a natty business suit. Antonyms: dirty, disorderly, dowdy, negligent, rough, rude, slouchy, slovenly, soiled, uncared for, unkempt, untidy. Necessary. Synonyms: essential, indispensable, inevitable, infallible, needed, needful, required, requisite, unavoidable, undeniable. That is necessary which must exist, occur, or be true, which in the nature of things cannot be otherwise. That which is essential belongs to the essence of a thing, so that the thing cannot exist in its completeness without it. That which is indispensable may be only an adjunct, but it is one that cannot be spared. Vigorous health is essential to an Arctic explorer. Warm clothing is indispensable. That which is requisite or required is so in the judgment of the person requiring it, but may not be so absolutely. Thus the requisite is more a matter of personal feeling than the indispensable. Inevitable, Latin in, not, and evito, shun, is primarily the exact equivalent of the Saxon unavoidable. Both words are applied to things which some at least would escape or prevent, while that which is necessary may meet with no objection. Food is necessary, death is inevitable. A necessary conclusion satisfies a thinker, an inevitable conclusion silences opposition. An infallible proof is one that necessarily leads the mind to a sound conclusion. Needed and needful are more concrete than necessary, and respect an end to be attained. We speak of a necessary inference. Necessary food is what one cannot live without, while needful food is that without which he cannot enjoy comfort, health, and strength. Antonyms: casual, contingent, needless, non-essential, optional, unnecessary, useless, worthless. Prepositions: necessary to a sequence or a total, for or to a result or a person. Unity is necessary to constitute completeness. Decision is necessary for command, or for a commander. Necessity. Synonyms: compulsion, destiny, emergency, essential, exigency, extremity, fatality, fate, indispensability, indispensableness, need, requirement, requisite, sine qua non, unavoidableness, urgency, want. Necessity is the quality of being necessary, or the quality of that which cannot but be, become, or be true, or be accepted as true. Need and want always imply a lack. Necessity may be used in this sense, but in the higher philosophical sense, necessity simply denotes the exclusion of any alternative, either in thought or fact. Righteousness is a necessity, not a need of the divine nature. Need suggests the possibility of supplying the deficiency which want expresses. To speak of a person's want of decision merely points out a weakness in his character. To say that he has need of decision implies that he can exercise or attain it. As applied to a deficiency, necessity is more imperative than need. A weary person is in need of rest. When rest becomes a necessity, he has no choice but to stop work. An essential is something, as a quality or element, that belongs to the essence of something else, so as to be inseparable from it in its normal condition, or in any complete idea or statement of it. Compare necessary, predestination. Antonyms: choice, contingency, doubt, doubtfulness, dubiousness, fortuity, freedom, option, possibility, uncertainty. Prepositions: the necessity of surrender, a necessity for action. This is a necessity to me. End of section 43. Read by DSayers in Modesto, California, for LibriVox.
Of English synonyms and antonyms. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Neglect to notwithstanding. Preposition. Neglect. Synonyms: carelessness, default, disregard, disrespect, failure, heedlessness, inadvertence, inattention, indifference, neglectfulness, negligence, omission, oversight, remissness, scorn, slackness, slight, thoughtlessness. Neglect, Latin, nec, not, and lego, gather, is the failing to take such care, show such attention, pay such courtesy, etc., as may be rightfully or reasonably expected. Negligence, which is the same in origin, may be used in almost the same sense, but with a slighter force, as when Whittier speaks of the negligence which friendship loves. But negligence is often used to denote the quality or trait of character of which the act is a manifestation, or to denote the habit of neglecting that which ought to be done. Neglect is transitive, negligence is intransitive. We speak of neglect of his books, friends, or duties, in which cases we could not use negligence. Negligence in dress implies want of care as to its arrangement, tidiness, etc. Neglect of one's garments would imply leaving them exposed to defacement or injury, as by dust, moths, etc. Neglect has a passive sense which negligence has not. The child was suffering from neglect, that is, from being neglected by others. The child was suffering from negligence would imply that he himself was neglectful. The distinction sometimes made that neglect denotes the act and negligence the habit is but partially true. One may be guilty of habitual neglect of duty. The wife may suffer from her husband's constant neglect, while the negligence which causes a railroad accident may be that of a moment, and on the part of one ordinarily careful and attentive. In such cases the law provides punishment for criminal negligence. Antonyms. See synonyms for care. Prepositions: neglect of duty, of the child, by the parent. There was neglect on the part of the teacher. New. Synonyms: fresh, juvenile, late, modern, new-fangled, new-fashioned, new-made, novel, recent, upstart, young, youthful. That which is new has lately come into existence, possession, or use. A new house is just built, or in a more general sense, is one that has just come into the possession of the present owner or occupant. Modern denotes that which has begun to exist in the present age, and is still existing. Recent denotes that which has come into existence within a comparatively brief period, and may or may not be existing still. Modern history pertains to any period since the Middle Ages. Modern literature, modern architecture, etc., are not strikingly remote from the styles and types prevalent today. That which is late is somewhat removed from the present, but not far enough to be called old. That which is recent is not quite so sharply distinguished from the past as that which is new. Recent publications range over a longer time than new books. That which is novel is either absolutely or relatively unprecedented in kind. A novel contrivance is one that has never before been known. A novel experience is one that has never before occurred to the same person. That which is new may be of a familiar or even of an ancient sort, as a new copy of an old book. Young and youthful are applied to that which has life. That which is young is possessed of a comparatively new existence as a living thing, possessing actual youth. That which is youthful manifests the attributes of youth. Compare youthful. Fresh applies to that which has the characteristics of newness or youth, while capable of deterioration by lapse of time. That which is unworn, unspoiled, or unfaded, as a fresh countenance, fresh eggs, fresh flowers. New is opposed to old, modern to ancient, recent to remote, young to old, aged, etc. Antonyms. See synonyms for old. Nimble. Synonyms: active, agile, alert, brisk, bustling, lively, prompt, quick, speedy, sprightly, spry, swift. Nimble refers to lightness, freedom, and quickness of motion within a somewhat narrow range, with readiness to turn suddenly to any point. Swift applies commonly to more sustained motion over greater distances. A pickpocket is nimble-fingered, a dancer nimble-footed. An arrow, a racehorse, or an ocean steamer is swift. Shakespeare's nimble lightnings is said of the visual appearance in sudden zigzag flash across the sky. Figuratively, we speak of nimble wit, swift intelligence, swift destruction. Alert, which is strictly a synonym for ready, comes sometimes near the meaning of nimble or quick, from the fact that the ready, wide awake person is likely to be lively, quick, speedy. Compare active, alert. Antonyms: clumsy, dilatory, dull, heavy, inactive, inert, slow, sluggish, unready. Normal. Synonyms: common, natural, ordinary, regular, typical, usual. That which is natural is according to nature. That which is normal is according to the standard or rule which is observed or claimed to prevail in nature. A deformity may be natural. Symmetry is normal. The normal color of the crow is black, while the normal color of the sparrow is gray. But one is as natural as the other. Typical refers to such an assemblage of qualities as makes the specimen, genus, etc. A type of some more comprehensive group, while normal is more commonly applied to the parts of a single object. The specimen was typical, color, size, and other characteristics normal. The regular is etymologically that which is according to rule, hence that which is steady and constant, as opposed to that which is fitful and changeable. The normal action of the heart is regular. That which is common is shared by a great number of persons or things. Disease is common. A normal state of health is rare. Compare general, usual. Antonyms: abnormal, exceptional, irregular, monstrous, peculiar, rare, singular, uncommon, unprecedented, unusual. Notwithstanding, conjunction. Synonyms: although, but, howbeit, however, nevertheless, still, though, yet. However simply waives discussion, and, like the archaic howbeit, says, be that as it may, this is true. Nevertheless concedes the truth of what precedes, but claims that what follows is none the less true. Notwithstanding marshals the two statements face to face, admits the one and its seeming contradiction to the other, while insisting that it can not, after all, withstand the other; as, notwithstanding the force of the enemy is superior, we shall conquer. Yet and still are weaker than notwithstanding, while stronger than but. Though and although make as little as possible of the concession, dropping it, as it were, incidentally; as, though we are guilty, thou art good. To say, we are guilty, but thou art good, would make the concession of guilt more emphatic. Compare but, yet. Notwithstanding, preposition. Synonyms: despite, in spite of. Notwithstanding simply states that circumstances shall not be or have not been allowed to withstand. Despite and in spite of refer primarily to personal and perhaps spiteful opposition; as, he failed notwithstanding his good intentions, or he persevered in spite of the most bitter hostility. When despite and in spite of are applied to inanimate things, it is with something of personification. In spite of the storm is said as if the storm had a hostile purpose to oppose the undertaking. End of section 44.
Of English synonyms and antonyms. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mario Pineda. English Synonyms and Antonyms by James Champlin Fernald. Oath to oversight. Oath. Synonyms: adjuration, affidavit, anathema, ban, blaspheming, blasphemy, curse, cursing, denunciation, execration, imprecation, malediction, profane swearing, profanity, reprobation, swearing, sworn statement, vow. In the highest sense, as in a court of justice, an oath is a reverent appeal to God in corroboration of what one says. Abbott Law Dictionary. An affidavit is a sworn statement made in writing in the presence of a competent officer. An adjuration is a solemn appeal to a person in the name of God to speak the truth. An oath is made to man in the name of God, a vow to God without the intervention, often without the knowledge, of man. In the lower sense, an oath may be mere blasphemy or profane swearing. Anathema, curse, execration, and imprecation are modes of invoking vengeance or retribution from a superhuman power upon the person against whom they are uttered. Anathema is a solemn ecclesiastical condemnation of a person or of a proposition. Curse may be just and authoritative as the curse of God, or it may be wanton and powerless. So the curse causeless shall not come. Proverbs 26:2. Execration expresses most of personal bitterness and hatred. Imprecation refers especially to the coming of the desired evil upon the person against whom it is uttered. Malediction is a general wish of evil, a less usual but very expressive word. Compare testimony. Antonyms: benediction, benison, blessing. Obscure. Synonyms: abstruse, ambiguous, cloudy, complex, complicated, dark, darksome, deep, dense, difficult, dim, doubtful, dusky, enigmatical, hidden, incomprehensible, indistinct, intricate, involved, muddy, mysterious, profound, turbid, unintelligible. That is obscure which the eye or the mind cannot clearly discern or see through, whether because of its own want of transparency, its depth or intricacy, or because of mere defect of light. That which is complicated is likely to be obscure, but that might be obscure which is not at all complicated and scarcely complex as a muddy pool. In that which is abstruse, Latin abs, from, and trudo, push, as if removed from the usual course of thought or out of the way of apprehension or discovery, the thought is remote, hidden. In that which is obscure there might be nothing to hide. It is hard to see to the bottom of the profound because of its depth, but the most shallow turbidness is obscure. Compare complex, dark, difficult, mysterious. Antonyms. See synonyms for clear. Obsolete. Synonyms: ancient, antiquated, archaic, disused, obsolescent, old, out of date, rare. Some of the oldest or most ancient words are not obsolete, as father, mother, etc. A word is obsolete which has quite gone out of reputable use. A word is archaic which is falling out of reputable use, or, on the other hand, having been obsolete, is taken up tentatively by writers or speakers of influence, so that it might perhaps regain its position as a living word. A word is rare if there are few present instances of its reputable use. Compare old. Antonyms. See synonyms for new. Obstinate. Synonyms: contumacious, decided, determined, dogged, firm, fixed, headstrong, heady, immovable, indomitable, inflexible, intractable, mulish, obdurate, opinionated, persistent, pertinacious, refractory, resolute, resolved, stubborn, unconquerable, unflinching, unyielding. The headstrong person is not to be stopped in his own course of action, while the obstinate and stubborn is not to be driven to another's way. The headstrong act, the obstinate and stubborn may simply refuse to steer. The most amiable person may be obstinate on some one point. The stubborn person is for the most part habitually so. We speak of obstinate determination, stubborn resistance. Stubborn is the term most frequently applied to the lower animals and inanimate things. Refractory implies more activity of resistance. The stubborn horse balks. The refractory animal plunges, rears, and kicks. Metals that resist ordinary processes of reduction are termed refractory. One is obdurate, who adheres to his purpose in spite of appeals that would move any tender-hearted or right-minded person. Contumacious refers to a proud and insolent defiance of authority, as of the summons of a court. Pertinacious demand is contrasted with obstinate refusal. The unyielding conduct which we approve can call decided, firm, inflexible, resolute. That which we condemn we are apt to term headstrong, obstinate, stubborn. Compare perverse. Antonyms: amenable, complacent, compliant, docile, dutiful, gentle, irresolute, obedient, pliable, pliant, submissive, teachable, tractable, undecided, wavering, yielding. Obstruct. Synonyms: arrest, bar, barricade, check, choke, clog, embarrass, hinder, impede, interrupt, oppose, retard, stay, stop. To obstruct is literally to build up against. The road is obstructed by fallen trees. The passage of liquid through a tube is obstructed by solid deposits. We may hinder one's advance by following and clinging to him. We obstruct his course by standing in his way or putting a barrier across his path. Anything that makes one's progress slower, whether from within or from without, impedes. An obstruction is always from without. To arrest is to cause to stop suddenly. Obstructing the way might have the effect of arresting progress. Compare hinder, impediment. Antonyms: accelerate, advance, aid, clear, facilitate, forward, free, further, open, pave the way for, promote. Old. Synonyms: aged, ancient, antiquated, antique, decrepit, elderly, gray, hoary, immemorial, olden, patriarchal, remote, senile, time-honored, time-worn, venerable. That is term old which has existed long or which existed long ago. Ancient, from the Latin through the French, is the more stately; old, from the Saxon, the more familiar word. Familiarity on one side is near to contempt. Thus we say an old coat, an old hat. On the other hand, familiarity is akin to tenderness, and thus old is a word of endearment, as the old homestead, the old oaken bucket. Tell me the old, old story has been sung feelingly by millions. Tell me that ancient story would remove it out of all touch of human sympathy. Olden is a statelier form of old, and is applied almost exclusively to time, not to places, buildings, persons, etc. As regards periods of time, the familiar are also the near, thus the old times are not too far away from familiar thought and reference. The olden times are more remote, ancient times is still further removed. Gray, hoary, and moldering refer to outward and visible tokens of age. Aged applies chiefly to long extended human life. Decrepit, gray, and hoary refer to the effects of age on the body exclusively. Senile upon the mind also, as a decrepit frame, senile garrulousness. One may be aged and neither decrepit nor senile. Elderly is applied to those who have passed middle life, but scarcely reached old age. Remote, Latin re, back or away, and movio, move, primarily refers to space, but is extended to that which is far off in time, as at some remote period. Venerable expresses the involuntary reverence that we yield to the majestic and long enduring, whether in the material world or in human life and character. Compare antique, obsolete, primeval. Antonyms: compare synonyms for new, youthful. Operation. Synonyms: action, agency, effect, execution, force, influence, performance, procedure, result. Operation is action considered with reference to the thing acted upon, and may apply to the action of an intelligent agent or of a material substance or force, as the operation of a medicine. Performance and execution denote intelligent action, considered with reference to the actor or to that which he accomplishes. Performance accomplishing the will of the actor, execution often the will of another. We speak of the performance of a duty, the execution of a sentence. Compare act. Antonyms: failure, inaction, ineffectiveness, inefficiency, inutility, powerlessness, uselessness. Order. Synonyms: command, direction, injunction, instruction, mandate, prohibition, requirement. Instruction implies superiority of knowledge. direction or authority on the part of the giver. A teacher gives instructions to his pupils, an employer gives directions to his workmen. Order is still more authoritative than direction. Soldiers, sailors, and railroad employees have simply to obey the orders of their superiors without explanation or question. An order in the commercial sense has the authority of the money which the one ordering the goods pays or is to pay. Command is of a loftier word, as well as highly authoritative, less frequent in common life. We speak of the commands of God, or sometimes by polite hyperbole ask of a friend, "Have you any commands for me?" A requirement is imperative, but not always formal, nor made by a personal agent. It may be in the nature of things, as the requirements of the position. Prohibition is wholly negative. It is a command not to do. Injunction is now oftenest so used, especially as the requirement by legal authority that certain action be suspended or refrained from pending final legal decision. Compare array, class, law, prohibit, system. Antonyms: allowance, consent, leave, liberty, license, permission, permit. Ostentation. Synonyms: boast, boasting, display, flourish, pageant, pageantry, parade, pomp, pomposity, pompousness, show, bount, bunting. Ostentation is an ambitious showing forth of whatever is thought adapted to win admiration or praise. Ostentation may be without words, as the ostentation of wealth in fine residences, rich clothing, costly equipage, or the like. When in words, ostentation is rather in manner than in direct statement, as the ostentation of learning. Boasting is in direct statement, and is louder and more vulgar than ostentation. There might be great display or show with little substance. Ostentation suggests something substantial to be shown. Pageant, pageantry, parade, and pomp refer principally to affairs of arms or state, as a royal pageant, a military parade. Pomp is some material demonstration of wealth and power, as in grand and stately ceremonial, rich furnishings, processions, etc., considered as worthy of the person or occasion in whose behalf it is manifested. Pomp is the noble side of that which as ostentation is considered as arrogant and vain. Pageant and pageantry are inferior to pomp, denoting a spectacular display designed to impress the public mind, and since the multitude is largely ignorant and thoughtless, the words pageant and pageantry have a suggestion of the transient and unsubstantial. Parade, Latin paro, prepare, is an exhibition as of troops in camp, going through the evolutions that are to be used in battle, and suggests lack of earnestness and direct or immediate occasion or demand. Hence, in the more general sense, a parade is an uncalled for exhibition, and so used is a more disparaging word than ostentation. Ostentation may spring merely from undue self-gratulation. Parade implies a desire to impress others with a sense of one's abilities or resources, and is always offensive and somewhat contemptible, as a parade of wealth and learning. Pomposity and pompousness are the affectations of pomp. Antonyms: diffidence, modesty, quietness, reserve, retirement, shrinking, timidity, unobtrusiveness. Ought. Synonym: should. One ought to do that which he is under moral obligation or in duty bound to do. Ought is the stronger word, holding most closely to the sense of moral obligation, or sometimes of imperative logical necessity. Should might have the sense of moral obligation, and may apply merely to propriety or expediency, as in the proverb, "The liar should have a good memory," that is, he will need it. Ought is sometimes used of abstractions or inanimate things as indicating what the mind deems to be imperative or logically necessary in view of all the conditions, as "these goods ought to go into that space," "these arguments ought to convince him." Should in such connections would be correct, but less emphatic. Compare duty. Oversight. Synonyms: care, charge, command, control, direction, inspection, management, superintendence, supervision, surveillance, watch, watchfulness. A person may look over a matter in order to survey it carefully in its entirety, or he may look over it with no attention to the thing itself because his gaze and thought are concentrated on something beyond. Oversight has thus two contrasted senses, in the latter sense denoting inadvertent error or omission, and in the former denoting watchful supervision, commonly implying constant personal presence. Superintendence requires only so much of presence or communication as to know that the superintendent's wishes are carried out. The superintendent of a railroad will personally oversee very few of its operations. The railroad company has supreme direction of all its affairs without superintendence or oversight. Control is used chiefly with reference to restraint or the power of restraint. A good horseman has a restless horse under perfect control. There is no high character without self-control. Surveillance is an invidious term, signifying watching with something of suspicion. Compare care, neglect. End of section 45.